Hello, loveys. Oh, tiny Jesus. Find your way to the boom. How are we? I'm sorry to bother us on a Tuesday night at 10 o'clock, but I feel as though I haven't seen you in forever. And I missed your face. Tiny Jesus, may the force be with you and also with you. On May 6th, 2025, day 10 of Commonwealth v. Karen Reed, the retrial. Okay. I have lots to say. Where have I been? Ask me. I was getting nervous. I felt like I needed to do a live or someone was sending a wellness check. You know what I'm saying? It had been a minute. And I have to say this. Oh, wait, is anyone here? Hello. Hi, loveys. Hi, baby doll. Oh, and hello, Jessica. I'm here. I am here. Okay. So let me tell you, let's talk all the shit really quickly. So on Thursday night, was it Thursday? Yes. We went to Peabody and it was like an event. It was the North Shore event. So I said, oh, she's got to show up at the North Shore event because why? Intrinsically, I must. You know what I'm saying? So I show up and what happens is I get a little bit of the panics. The panic sets in, babes. And I said, oh, who is she? Find a bag, a brown paper bag, perhaps a Stop and Shop special, you know? Breathe in, breathe out, bitch. Calm down. You know, like figure it out. But I just I didn't do well, okay? And then I said to myself, we have problems, okay? Cuz you need to be able to interact appropriately. And why did you just get so overwhelmed? Couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you. The feeling just, you know how when it like you got an elephant sitting on your chest and you can't get away from it. I chewed gum. I did all the things. But I was so thankful because there were so many loveys there that were like, hey, you're okay. And I was like, oh, do I look all right? Oh, because I don't feel well. But after I sweat to the oldies and put a little bit of chicken Alfredo finally down my gullet, I came to, you know? So that was on Thursday. Friday, I was feeling what we feel afterwards. After an event, sometimes you get a little bit of you need to go on an apology tour. Okay. Wasn't even drinking, but still felt the need to be like, oh, that wasn't the best that I've ever been. So felt a little bit weird there. Then the weekend was crazy weekend with the fam. And then yesterday, where was I? Court. Okay. I was there for day 9. I was feeling fine. David Yannetti, my bowl of spaghetti overfloweth. I told you yesterday in a tiny car ride in which my father would be devastated. Where was my seatbelt? Nowhere to be found. Had I lost my mind? Click it or ticket. You know the rules, bitch. You're not new. Okay, so that was inappropriate. I apologize to the world. Many a comment said, "You need to put a seatbelt on." And of course I do. Duh. Ew. Ew. Don't follow me. Don't follow my lead. Illegal. Okay? So that was that. And so I had to like process everything last night. Then I get home and I get a message from Court TV. They say, "Hey, bitch, we need you on for 3 out of 4 segments." I said, "Oh, this feels a bit much." Then what happens? A transformer somewhere decides to blow a lid about 8:22, and I go on audio only. I'll tell you what, babes, that is the way to go. Try to be audio only because you don't have to clutch your own pearls. You could be in a bubble bath and no one would know. You know, I could have been lit by candlelight, having a little. I don't even know what. Okay, I could have been doing sectional healing. Jen McCabe. Oh, stop it. Okay, so yeah, those were all the things I thought, and I was thinking them out loud, not out loud. There was a lot happening, but today my life has returned to normalcy. by the love of who? Yep. Tiny Jesus and Tiny Mary, which I have bought in bulk from Amazon. So we'll be tiny marrying and tiny Jesusing till the end of time together, if you shall have us. So that's my story with that. And as it relates to the courtroom, it was wild. Wild. I have never been inside trial time. I didn't get to go 1.0. So 2.0, this is my open, forgive me, retrial, because Mark Betterow does not like me to say 2.0. I go 2.0, right? But I will try to refrain and say retrial. Okay. And so I get in there and I am a tiny sponge. I am a scrub daddy. I am taking it all in. I want it. What are we doing? I'm looking at the jury. The jury is between the ages of 18 and one might be 72. This is all hearsay because it's coming from me. Okay? But it was magic. Magic. And I'm watching them and I tell you to tell you this. Hank Brennan has no control over that courtroom. His voice is that of Charlie Brown's teacher. That's it. It's a wah, wah. I can't even hear the questions. He's right next to you. And I go, what are you talking about? What are you doing, Steve? His name isn't Steve. Okay, it's Hank Francis, first of his name. And it's monotone. It's yucky. Only 3 people are taking notes. We know the sexes of the jurors, right? We know it's 9 and 9 because we still got the 18. But we've got three people taking notes, 2 of which are what? Women. Because that's what we do. We take notes. Then there's one guy in the back, he's middle-aged, and he takes notes too. But I think he likes to take notes. I think he's doodling. I think he was making pictures of me, maybe. He was like, "Who's this bitch?" And yeah, so that was very, very enlightening. And I saw them engage with the questioning and what makes them tick, right? When you're talking to former Lieutenant Gallagher, you've got to get all the deets in. But if you get lost in the sauce like Hank does, not as bad as ADA Lally, but Hank still gets lost a little bit in the weeds, in my opinion. So it's just boring. It's like, okay, okay, what are we doing? But I made one observation, Loveys, that I was like, oh, I think you'll like this one. So Gallagher is, very firm and very convicted in his correct use of a leaf blower. I've never seen a man more powerful with a leaf blower than former Lieutenant Gallagher. Like, who is that excited about one's leaf blower? I don't know. Maybe Dave Cullinane. But like a man that gets that worked up that early in the morning at a crime scene to use a leaf blower, I have questions. And you can't give me answers, right? Like, it's an ick. It's an ick. It's a no. It's a pass. It's a hard pass for me, sir. Paul. So, he's using his layer by layer method. He tells us that he is the second coming of Christ. We all should thank him. Bow to Almighty Paul Gallagher. And I question, though, the fact that he's going to repeatedly tell us today, babes, that it wasn't a crime scene at this time. It was just a medical episode for Officer John O'Keefe. And then that led me to, well, when did it go from becoming the medical emergency and the treatment of Officer John O'Keefe? We know he was pronounced at 7:50 a.m. But all you had was the word of people at a party, allegedly, but no one saw anything. No one heard anything at 34 Fairview on January 28th, well, into the 29th of January 2022. So whose word are we taking here that he was never in a fight? Oh, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I was thinking. And I just don't like someone who can't admit, like, you if you have to push back that hard, we have problems. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm thinking with him. And then, because we didn't get to talk about two things with Jennifer McCabe, I just wanted to throw these two clips in because these are what really took me out on what day was it? Day 8. Okay, this was Friday. And I'm going to start with this one, and then we'll talk the shit, and then one more clip, and then we'll get into today.
This is from me to Nicole, to Brian, to Matt.
What's the timestamp on this text?
2:55.
Same minute that you sent the last text?
Yes.
She's telling him everything?
Yes.
And then you follow up with what?
All the stuff.
Next text, please. Who's this responsive text from?
This is from Matt to myself, Nicole, and Brian.
And what's the timestamp on this?
4:35.
What does this read?
Yep. If she pleads out, it will end. If she fights it, it will be an episode.
Who's she?
I'm assuming that would be Miss Reed.
Next text, please. Who's this from and who's it to?
This is from Nicole to me, to Matt, and to Brian.
And what does this read?
She liked the text about
the previous text?
Yes.
Meaning like a thumbs up or a like?
Yeah, it just says liked. So
the one that reads, yeah, if she pleads, it will end.
Mm-hmm.
If she fights, it will be an episode.
Yes.
Oh. That took me out, loveys. What do you mean that on February 1st, 2022, Kerry Roberts is at your house. She's talking all the shit to who? Trooper Michael Proctor. And now we remember we turn back the hands of time because we have elephant brains. And we remember that that Karen Reed was indicted on February 2nd. So she ended up getting arrested on that February 1st night after these text messages were sent. I'm sorry. You colluding motherfuckers. What are you doing? Saying that if Karen pleads out, everything will figure itself out. If not, we'll avoid an episode. Oh. Well, not this episode, babe. You've made it. You've made it to a Nurse Kim episode and to an episode of a shit show in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in this trial and retrial. It's shameful, and it looks wild to me. And I hope that the jury picked up on that. And I hope, and I'm sure that the defense will hearken back to it at some point during the trial and at close. But that sent me to, I was actually physically spinning on the rings of Saturn hearing that.
Were you provided any records and asked about records that showed that you were at Michael Lang's house on January 30th, 2022?
I was asked if I had gone to Michael Lang's house, and I had, to be honest, I had completely forgotten because those days were just a complete blur. But then I remembered that after we left Meadows Ave, we did drop her daughter off at Michael Lang's.
All right. Do you recall ever seeing a document, seeing something that indicated that you were actually a piece of paper, a document, a record, anything indicating that you were seen at Michael Lang's house through GPS location data forms?
Did I ever see a record of that?
Correct. The lieutenant showed...
No, he didn't show me a record.
He just asked you about
He just asked me.
Did he tell you during that course of that interview that he had been provided with GPS data records indicating that you went to Michael Lang's house?
I don't remember the specifics of what he asked, but I know that he did ask me if I had been there.
Did he tell you that he had received those GPS data records?
Oh. And it's not that she went to Lank's house because we knew that, right? That was like the second clip from day 8 that just threw me over. But we didn't know the fact that now she admits that she rolled by at a very slow clip, okay? Her and Kerry Roberts, and allegedly Kerry Roberts' daughter, just did a trot from Jennifer McCabe's house past 34 Fairview and then went to Sergeant Michael Lank's house. When asked, what did you go by 34 Fairview for? The very next day, after you had succumbed, like you had this traumatic event, you just were at Fairview, comforting the O'Keefe family. And now you're driving. No, you were just at, you were just at One Meadow, right? Comforting the O'Keefe family. And then you go by the scene that they lost Officer John O'Keefe at. And you say, oh, we don't know why we did it. We just needed to. I'm surprised they didn't just roll down their windows like maybe, I don't know, Chief Kenneth Berkowitz and find some taillight that very next day. Just saying. And the other thing was that Jen wants us to believe, Loveys, that she suddenly remembers things. It comes in waves with her. She says her memory is such a blur. She can't recall anything. She honestly just forgets things. Well, that makes sense in a traumatic event, but it doesn't make sense because of the way she has portrayed herself. And as the Commonwealth's star witness, she has a lot of explaining to do, if you ask me, because I'm not putting my money on the hazy, hot, and humid memory of a Jennifer McCabe, who tells us herself, I can't remember shit. Oh, okay. Well, and so that was what I was the most shocked with her stuff. And it took me for a loop. I think day 8 would have been incredible. I was there day 9. But day 8, day 8's been my favorite of all the days. I think today was interesting. Mr. Gilman, the meteorologist, is a trip, okay? What a trip. Took me back down a trip down memory lane that I didn't know I needed to go. He remembers the blizzard of 78. It was yesterday for him. Okay? He potentially was like the first college class of a Massachusetts college. He's 157 years old. He got on that stand today, babes. He didn't know where he was. He forgot his own name. Okay? He did this. He was like, oh, hello. Right? He seemed confused. He seemed very, very kind. But then he seems a little bit anal retentive as well, which makes sense for a man of the 1940s. He taught me something about wind chill, though. I didn't know that originated in Massachusetts because of like post-Korea and World War II, that there was aviators specifically in our United States Armed Forces that were, I guess, in the Air Force, and they were getting frostbite because the temperature they were appropriately dressed for. Oh God, I really did learn something. But the wind chill affected them negatively. So I don't know. Thank you, sir. I think, keep doing arithmetic and call Christopher Columbus, because I know that you make maps. So you're a fucking gem. All right. Now let's get into it, lovies. We're going to finish up with Gallagher. We are not going to talk too much shit about him because he talks enough himself. Let us go. Let us pray.
Out toward the street and facing across the street, which would be facing 34 Fairview, correct?
That is incorrect. He does not have a Ring camera. I know that his system is an Arlo camera, and I have personal knowledge of that because we've discussed cameras because we bought them approximately the same time.
My mistake. Arlo camera,
Best friend.
ARLO.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, that's still, although it's a different brand, it's still a home personal surveillance camera, correct?
Yes, but
And you're aware that those are motion activated cameras designed for security to capture images of things that may be going on outside the home.
that is correct. Yes, sir.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Briefly.
Thank you.
Mr. Gallagher, would you take a look at that photograph that I just handed you?
Yes,
What's it marked for ID?
It is marked for ID, and Ms. Gallagher, if you could read that for me to save me a trip up to the stand.
I believe it's a 5, Exhibit 5.
Could it be an S?
It could be an S, yes.
Oh, it could be an S. This is where he goes into his bullshit about Gallagher, who lives next door. And I want to show you the picture of Gallagher's house because his cameras, the Arlo cameras, pointed in the direction of whose house? 34 Fairview. Okay. And apparently, the Canton police are so close, babes, that they pick up packages at each other's houses. And no homo. But, they're dropping off, picking up packages. They're doing all sorts of stuff together. And I find it cute, a little bit erotic. I don't know. There could be something on OnlyFans about this. I'm not 100% sure, but I didn't realize that men ask each other to pick up packages on their front porches. Like, you can't do it later. Okay. Or you're that close. You're bosom buddies. I don't know.
I think it says, Your Honor.
Okay, here it is.
And by the way, there's one amendment to this photograph. There's a redaction of the address. You see that?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to draw your attention to that area right there, which
Yes.
I'm highlighting.
Yes.
What is that?
That is the Arlo camera.
Can you orient the jurors for us, please, to what we're looking at in this photograph?
You're looking at a camera that's angled downward.
And is it the front porch of that residence directly across the street from 34 Fairview?
It is not directly across from 34. It's actually more directly across from 32, so that would be incorrect.
Okay. Is it across the street from 34 generally?
It is, if Lieutenant Gallagher's house is here, 34 is over here across the street.
Okay. Is there a view from
So if Lieutenant Kelleher's house is here, then 34 Fairview is here across the street. Oh, thank you. Whoa. Across the street. Thanks, dude. You're the man. Sam Poop says, well, he doesn't write reports, so he has nothing else to do besides pick up packages. Agreed. Why would Lieutenant Gallagher write a report on the morning of January 29th, 2022 to memorialize anything that he did when he directed Sean Good to go get a leaf blower from his freaking home? Don't go to the police station and get evidence bags. I'm gonna go and knock on your door, Gallagher. We've been waiting for you. Give me some Solo cups and Stop and Shop bags. What the fuck is happening here? Is it a bloop? If it wasn't so serious and so absolutely gut-wrenching of the life lost of Officer John O'Keefe, I would want to roast. I would want these assholes to be on the Chappelle Show and to get just absolutely roasted, right?
from that front porch, just generally as you're standing there, if you were to turn 180 degrees and put your back to the door, is there a view of 34 Fairview as well as 32 Fairview?
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Okay. Did you seek, and we can take this.
Thank you
take
for
this out.
that.
Did you seek to secure any footage from that Arlo camera
I did not.
from Deputy Chief Kelleher?
I did not.
Did you talk to Deputy Chief Kelleher about that footage?
I don't remember specifically.
Did you ask him whether or not he'd reviewed the footage for a determination whether or not it caught any of the incident that may have occurred at or around 30?
And babes, let me tell you this. So I was there yesterday, right? And Lieutenant Gallagher was on the stand as well for direct and the beginning of cross. His faces are wild. I mean, this man is shaking his head at every turn. No. Right? Like it didn't happen. It wasn't me. He is Shaggy. He's the Shaggy of Canton Police Department. Nope, didn't happen. Nope, couldn't find it. Nope, no one cares. Nope, right? I'm like, oh, let AJ just finish. Can he get a sentence, good sir?
Before Fairview on January 29th, the early morning hours of January 29th.
I don't know if I did. I know it would not have.
How do you know it would not have?
Because I know what that camera captures.
How do you know what that camera captures?
Because I've picked up packages for Deputy Chief Gallagher in the past. I know it captures his doorstep and a portion of the front lawn.
So you've reviewed the Arlo footage from his iPhone?
He's just sent me a picture. Can I pick up when he's been on vacation? Can I pick up a package on the front step?
Okay. So,
yes, I've seen it.
So you've seen screenshots that
Sure.
Deputy Chief Gallagher sent you, correct?
I believe so, yes.
But you've never looked at the actual application to see what it might encapsulate or what it might capture generally.
We've compared what we have our cameras set up as. We had communicated about security out of houses multiple times. I know it captured the front door and a portion of the front lawn.
Do you believe that it would have been best practices to go ahead and secure that footage so we don't have to take anybody's word for it? We could actually look at the footage ourselves.
I didn't do that.
Do you think that would have been best practices to do that, just to have belt and suspenders? So there's no question about whether or not that camera that's facing, at least it's facing directly across the street, might have captured something of interest on the morning of January 29th, 2022.
To me, there was no expectation that it had captured anything. So I didn't.
But how did he know? Right? Like, babes, we're not trying to ask you to go above and beyond here, right? Like, right? I don't need you to be like Manhattan, downtown Boston, or Dorchester, or I don't even know, another Lynn, the city of sin. You don't need to be like a real city cop. You can be a Canton cop and still like not half-ass things. You didn't even ask. Just because you one time picked up a package while Kelleher was away, you don't know what the footage could have been or should have been. And it was across the street from an alleged unaliving and now second-degree murder of Officer John O'Keefe. Like, we need to use our brains a little bit more.
I think it was practical.
So because of your expectation, you didn't seek the footage and you didn't secure the footage.
Because of my knowledge and expectation, yes.
And you now know that that footage is gone. So
I would assume so. I'm not familiar with how long Arlo keeps footage.
So you are familiar enough that you decided that it wasn't important to capture the footage, but you're not familiar enough to know whether or not the footage is actually saved onto the Arlo system?
I don't know anything about. I don't have Arlo cameras, so I don't know anything about the system. But okay. I have Blink, so we've compared our systems.
We've compared our systems. I'm sure you have. All right. Now, he gets defensive. We all know. And now let's see what else he has to say about his bagging, his beautiful bagging.
2022, 3 days earlier. Is that right?
I believe so, sometime after 5 or 6.
So it was in the Sally Port from January 29th all the way to February 1st, at least to your knowledge.
Oh, no.
Knowledge for 3 full days in the Sally Port, correct?
2.5 to 3, yes.
Okay. From the time it arrived at Canton PD until it was processed out and moved
removed where, AJ?
out of the Sally Port, how many people would have had physical access to that SUV?
Everybody that possessed a key card.
And that's basically everybody at Canton PD that is a sworn officer, correct?
That is correct, yes,
Maybe
sir.
even some civilians, correct?
I'm not sure of civilians. What civilian?
Yes, Mandy, he has the Blink. What does that mean to you? He has Blink cameras and Kelleher has Arlo.
Do y'all have non-sworn civilians that
We don't. No, we do not. Well,
Oh, my. Oh, Tiny Jesus, take the wheel. Oh, where are we?
we do, but I'm not sure whether they would have access, what their access.
Hold on, guys. Sorry, Loveys. I don't know why it drops down. Anytime now.
Access is.
So at least the entirety of the police department, sworn police department, correct?
The uniform police, yes.
as well as Brian Higgins, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Thank you. Oh, by the way, can I go back to something?
Sure.
When you were at 34 Fairview, when you walked in with Sergeant Lank, you walked in through the side door or the main door?
Side door.
Side door into the family room, correct?
I believe it's a family room, yes.
Walked into the kitchen, correct?
I was by the kitchen.
Adjacent to the
Yep.
kitchen. Did you see a dog?
I did not.
He did not. He did not see a dog on January 29th, 2022. Now we have Jennifer McCabe, 3 days of testimony saying that she did not see Chloe. And now Lieutenant Gallagher tells us, former Lieutenant Gallagher says, oh, no, I didn't see a dog either. I wish that AJ just followed up and said, did you hear a dog? Or do we have a mute German Shepherd? Does Chloe not bark? Did Chloe lose her voice? Because we want to help her find that voice.
Speaking of the Sally Port, I want to move back to the Sally Port. I apologize about bouncing around a little bit.
Perfectly fine.
Moving back to the Sally Port, you indicated that basically all uniformed officers, every single uniformed officer at Canton PD would have had access to that Sally Port, as well as Brian Higgins. They also would have had access to everything inside the Sally Port, whatever was left there.
Yes.
The SUV and other stuff, for lack of a better technical phrase, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Stuff.
Did you photograph or did you cause to be photographed the SUV when it arrived on January 29th in your Sally Port?
But we had been recused at that point, and I wasn't working when the vehicle arrived. So
I thought you said that you were recused only from doing interviews.
from doing investigative interviews, but I wasn't present when I wasn't working when the vehicle came in.
Okay. So you could have taken photographs of the vehicle had you wanted to, or caused someone to do that had you wanted.
Well, to be perfectly clear, former Lieutenant Gallagher, you weren't working when you showed up at the scene. And initially, you showed up at the scene and you went to the wrong location, right? He initially goes to One Meadow and then trots his ass at 7 o'clock over to 34 Fairview. That's weird. And he told us during a direct examination that he had gotten off at like midnight. And we know that Sergeant Good was, in theory, the highest ranking officer. But Lank and Gallagher showed up. Huh. And they, they activated themselves and said, all hands on deck for a medical emergency that they say no crime occurred at this time. Remember? Oh.
I had no idea that vehicle was coming to NPD, sir.
Okay. Once you got to, as the lieutenant in charge, was it important to you to know that a single piece of evidence had been moved into the custody and control of Canton PD?
It wasn't important to me. It's the state police investigation.
Even though it
Again,
was on your property, in your Sally Port, with access through your key cards.
that's up to my chief. That's not up to me.
I see. To your knowledge, let me just ask it this way. To your knowledge, did anybody seek to photograph the vehicle when it arrived at Canton PD on January 29th, 2022, to your knowledge?
I have no personal knowledge of that.
Have you ever seen a photograph of that vehicle that was taken by someone in law enforcement on January 29th? I'm going to give you 3 days. January 29th, January 30th, January 31st, sorry, 30th, or February 1st.
I have seen photographs. I'm not sure what days they were taken. The photos were taken.
You have not seen a photograph that was taken on January 29th, however, have you?
I've never seen anything dated January 29th.
You've never seen a photo, and I'm going to go through this a little bit more, but you've never seen a photograph that was taken on January 30th, have you?
Yeah, I've never seen any photographs with any.
I've never seen any photographs with any dates on them. Oh, that's it. Put me away. Send me to bed. Send me to bed without supper. Because apparently no one is a real police officer. This is embarrassing. If you have law enforcement in your family, put your hands up. Okay, put them down. You know what I'm saying? Don't tell us. You don't have to. But if you do, and if you love them, and if you know that they literally go to work every day to protect and serve their communities, and then you see these fucktards in action, activating themselves like our friend said, one of our friends, best friends from out of town tells us, like fucking Power Rangers. Except they're a little bit more like garbage pail kids. They're fresh. They're fucked up. You know, they're provocative, but they don't do shit correctly. Like, listen, I don't give a fuck if you have to deal with like a missing golden doodle. Okay. Which, I mean, I actually do. I care more about a golden doodle than I care about a lot of things. But when it's a death investigation of an unattended death, which Hank Brennan continued to call unintended, which like, oh, okay, that's subliminal. But when you have a Boston police officer who lost his life, Loveys, this is not time to pretend like we play police officers on TV. If you don't know what you're doing, phone a fucking friend. Someone has to know. It scares me. He was DEA. He was working on a Norcos task force. He was like, oh, the oxycodone epidemic. Are you high right now? What the fuck are we talking about, sir? Oh.
Dates on them.
Okay.
I believe.
Do you think that would have been you were at the time the head of detectives, correct?
No, that's not correct.
You're not. You had already moved from that spot. In January of 2022, I may be wrong. I thought as the lieutenant, you were also the head of detectives.
No, that was Lieutenant Gallagher at the time. I know you keep it's a mix-up. So we've had promotions since January 29th, and I think that's where the mix-up might be.
So
when you refer to Deputy Chief Gallagher, he was actually Lieutenant Gallagher, and he was in charge of detectives at that time.
At some point, had you been in charge of detectives?
Who?
I became in charge of detectives in June of 2022.
June of 2022.
Yeah, approximately 6 months later.
Understood. You had been a detective previously, Howard.
That is correct.
Okay.
Sir.
As a detective, do you believe that it would have been important to photograph? Had you had your druthers to do it, it would have been important to photograph that vehicle when it came in so that it could be memorialized and documented the exact condition that vehicle came in on January 29th, 2022.
So this is important to know that, unfortunately, John O'Keefe was deceased at this time. Once John O'Keefe becomes deceased, it becomes the state police's investigation, the Norfolk County District Attorney CPAC investigation. That's why it is not our investigation. It's up to the investigating agency to make those decisions.
Even something.
Well, I don't mean to, I don't want to belabor anything here, but per your Canton audit by Five Guys, Burgers and Fries, we know that Canton didn't actually need to recuse themselves. Okay. That the only two people that allegedly needed to was Kelleher and Lank. Was it Lank? No, I lied. Kelleher and Albert. Kevin Albert, clearly. Right? So you guys should have been helping. You should have been coordinating efforts. And we understand that in Massachusetts, unless you're Boston or Springfield, you do go automatically to Mass State Police. But you guys should have been doing a little bit more than saying, you know, tag, not it. And also following up on what you had done that very morning. Because until Mass State Police was activated, which we'll get into with O'Hara, it was still on you. And you didn't do what is best practice and protocol for any police department in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Invasive as taking photographs.
Yes.
Okay. You would agree, as a former detective and former head of detectives, that there are protocols for securing evidence of all types, correct?
Correct.
Those protocols dictate that not only is evidence properly secured, once it's seized, it needs to be properly secured, and it needs to be separated from other evidence to avoid something known as cross-contamination, correct?
Correct.
And you would agree with me that that is paramount in evidence handling in any
Have you ever seen a thirstier man? Not I.
investigation, correct?
Yes.
And that's because once evidence is cross-contaminated.
No, I lied. Trooper Paul. Okay. Hold please. Now let's get into it right here.
Yes.
Okay. If we could look at the next photograph, which is 55. Looks like a paper bag.
Oh, the paper bag.
Do you recognize what's depicted in this photograph?
Yes.
What is That.
That's the Stop and Shop bag that contained the 6 samples.
Do you see the rag in that photograph as well?
Yeah, we could agree to call it a rag or
You
paper
think it's a
towel.
paper towel?
I want to bring your eyes to something very specific in this photo, Loveys. We remember yesterday seeing Lieutenant Gallagher put on his gloves, okay, touch everything, and then cut the red evidence tape off of his box and a bag that was sealed. I don't know about you, babes, but my eyes, my lion eyes, are showing me that there is absolutely no tape on this Stop and Shop bag, right? Because when he cut it across the top, there was still red tape on the bottom, and it would have had to be resealed. So you put this in your temporary refrigerator, and you didn't close it. And then you have it next to a wet wipe at the rear fucking back, the rear quarter panel of Karen Reed's Lexus vehicle in your Sally Port for unknown reasons. Right? We still don't know who made the call because Gallagher says, I have no idea why it came back to the Canton Police Department, Sally Port. We know that we went over Trooper Proctor's testimony from the first trial. And he said, oh, I didn't make that call. I was told to bring it back there. By whom? I don't know. Was it Lieutenant Tully? Just saying. I have questions. Because I remember that O'Hara will tell us that Lieutenant Tully was on the scene. And he was the one who was activating everyone for the CPAC team. The CPAC team. No, what is that? CERT team that day.
I'm not sure. It looks like a paper towel on the in the pictures, but it's a white object, yes.
For all I care, the white thing. That's
yes.
Fine. All right. And you see that that's next to a tire just at the top of the picture? Just for orientation purposes.
Yeah, it appears to be 18 to 2 feet, 18 inches to 24 inches behind the tire, yes.
Okay. And that.
So, no, Lovey, there was no blood found anywhere on Karen Reed's vehicle. But there was DNA found on the taillight housing. There was never the pieces, the 47 pieces of apparent red and clear plastic that have never actually been specifically stated that it is Karen Reed's material, the polycarbonate blend, if you will. In the first trial, none of them were tested for DNA. They were just put in the puzzle, like they were put into a puzzle by a person named Mix Valaire at the Mass State Crime Lab.
That, of course, is the tire of the SUV.
Yes, I would think so.
So that would be the right rear of the SUV, just a few inches from this bag, correct?
It would be a couple of feet from the bag, yes.
Okay. If we could take a look at the next photograph. This is Exhibit 56 for the record.
And there was, KCL, one hair, okay? Now, this has never made sense to me. Why are we looking at a blank screen? Come closer, we'll talk shit. There has been one hair, okay, that was found. Oh, let's punch a Proctor. 1, 2, 3. Punch a Proctor. Fuck off. So, okay, so pretend this is Karen's taillight, okay? And it was cracked, okay? It wasn't missing 47 pieces, but I digress. This would have been where, allegedly, per the Commonwealth's theory, Officer John O'Keefe's arm was struck and spontaneously combusted his taillight, the taillight, right? The hair was found on the right rear quarter panel. Oh. Well, how did that happen? And as much as the Commonwealth supporters would like to tell you that it was the defense that started a terrible rumor that there was no human hair found on Karen Reed's Lexus, it was actually Maureen Hartnett at the Mass State Crime Lab who apparently could not tell that it was a human hair. She incorrectly identified it as non-human hair and then had to go to remedial training. But I'm going to tell you this. If my arm is here, smashing into a taillight, combusting it, because I have a bionic arm, how did my head, the wrong head, right? Here's my arm. And then my head is somehow like at the same height as the taillight on the quarter panel, hanging on by a thread in a C shape. Oh, stop it. Cut. Stop it. We're not dumb. Bunch of fucks.
What's depicted inside the bag?
The red solo cup.
And you still see the rag in the photograph?
I sure do, yes.
So the SUV would be right here, correct?
Sorry,
At the
babe.
top of the left.
Well, I can't see the top of it. It would be, it's nearby, yes.
Okay. And it's not just nearby, it's the right rear of the SUV that's nearby, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And one final photograph. This is exhibit 57 for the record.
All over at KCL, everywhere. And all police officers, if you know one, if you love one, they have been trained to touch the back of all cars. They do it. He could have been taking out groceries and he was touching the back of our car. I thought it was actually very good that AJ did the podium touch today about DNA, right? When he was talking to Gallagher and he goes, it might not pick up my fingerprint, but it would 100% pick up my DNA. Bitch. Get him, AJ. Again, no tape on this bag. Look with your eyes.
What is inside that? What's depicted inside that bag?
The red
Kool-Aid.
solo cups with coagulated blood.
And these are the only, we can have the lights, please. And so if you take that down. These are the only photographs that we.
Oh, LOVEYS. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. Oh, we know how I do this. I'm having trains of thought. And we're going off the rails. Judge Cannoni. Bitch. Yesterday, our little Polly Pocket Judge Cannoni at 4'11" and her pilgrim ancestor heels. Okay. She got up for a sidebar of unknown origin in the afternoon that was wild. She was pissed. The jury had already come out, right? The whole team goes up. I have no idea what's happening, but I'm looking, I'm watching. And usually she's an animated character. Usually she's up there and she's like, and she's like, nice. And I'm like, oh, do I like you? Stop it. What am I doing? I have mixed feelings about her at sidebar. Not yesterday. Not yesterday. My asshole clenched tighter than it has in 3 days. Okay. I said, oh, what are we doing? She looked at AJ and Hank Brennan and said, what I believe, if I were a lip reader, she said, that was you figure it out. And then she sent the jury away. We stood up. We went like this. We were like this. This was us. We go up. We go down. She goes, oh, the court, we're dismissing. We go up. We go down. I felt like I was in church. I genuflected when I left. I had no idea what was happening. I said, gee, where will I sing a hymn next? I don't know. Tiny Jesus, be with us all. And also with you. But she was not thrilled yesterday. I wonder, we'll have to ask Nikki Rocco and Jenna because they were in court today. Was she in better spirits? Because yesterday afternoon, I think she was hangry. It was a Monday. It's been raining for 40 days and 40 nights. I have my seasonal affective disorder is fully back in action. But what the fuck? It was wild.
We have that you've ever seen of those red Solo cups, that Stop and Shop bag, and the biological material in those red Solo cups.
The only ones I have seen, yes.
And those photographs that you see are within 2.5 feet from the right rear of that SUV, correct?
Approximately, yeah.
Monica, tomorrow night with Vinnie Politan at 9 p.m. I just got the text tonight from the producer. I said, oh, I'll be there. But I will. Would you guys like me to do that? Is that weird? Just like text when I'm going to be on? Who am I? She doesn't need to be on there. I don't even need to do it. I'm not normal. I'm a wild card. I think I have like what I'm going to say. I know the topics and I'm like, okay, you know this. I'm like, you know this. I like talk myself up. I go, you're smart. You're pretty. You can do this. I get on there and I go, "Bah, bah, 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 bah." She's got marbles in her mouth. I do my best, Monica. I'm sorry.
Yes.
And the right rear of that SUV houses the taillight material, correct? The taillight.
Oh, that rear houses the tail light. We know. Thank you. Go to the next part. Oh, baby Jesus.
Hello.
No, I did not.
Early in an investigation, when investigators have no information, is it
Back to
common to speculate?
oh,
Yes.
Sustained.
What is the natural process for an investigator when you start upon a situation and know nothing about what happened?
In this particular case, we came up with scenarios that possibly could have brought John to that spot. And we were focused on trying to find out and hopefully getting to the hospital. Hopefully the can't fight department in the hospital would save his life and he could tell us how he got to where he was.
Was that anything beyond the surmise or speculation of detectives, or did that information come from a witness?
No, that was us. I guess you would call it spitballing on possibilities.
Did you ever come across a witness that said that this was, or Mr. O'Keefe's injuries were the result of a fight?
No, we did not.
but no one would have said that. And you all thought it on the morning of January 29th, 2022. I want to remind you of one thing, loveys. Katie McLaughlin took the stand yesterday, day 9, and she said, as we all know and had all speculated, that she had heard what she thought she heard. And she went into the back of the ambulance and told Anthony Flammati and Timothy Nuttall. It is impossible unless Karen Reed said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him in a set of 3, 50 times. But now we have 3 of the 7 that heard her say some variation. Another 2 of them thought that they heard her say, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? And we have Jennifer McCabe, who said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him 3 times. That's it. Those are all the people that ever heard it. And Katie McLaughlin said on the stand yesterday that she told both Flammati and Nuttall while she was getting demographic information. So the boys weren't getting demographic information from Karen Reed ever. They were in the back of the ambulance, completing life-sustaining efforts, trying to save Officer John O'Keefe. And when she brings up the fact that she was standing, it happened right when she was standing, and the video, it was played by AJ, where she goes, it's right here where she said it. You don't hear any audio, and we know that we heard audio of Karen intermittently that entire morning. But then she says that he signaled to go get Goody, meaning Officer Saraf, to get his supervisor. But no Canton police officer detained Karen Reed, questioned Karen Reed, or arrested Karen Reed that morning. They released her from the scene to home. The only reason that Karen Reed was put on a Section 12 was because of her family's concern. She was brought back to the scene because she had a moment of weakness and was like, if John isn't here, she was so worried about the kids, so worried about John, that she goes, I'm checking out too. And in an abundance of fear from the Reeds, they said, she needs help. I can't get there. It's getting to be bad out the roads. I can't go drive, You know, you guys need to take her. She just said this. So if you're telling me that Karen Reed confessed, this is a confession the Commonwealth alleges, and Hank Brennan is honing the fuck in. He is living only on a prayer of, I hit him. And if that doesn't stick, and none of your police officers that responded to that scene, and allegedly she was screaming out everywhere, I fucking caused his death with my motor vehicle, that no one documented, and that Karen wasn't arrested or questioned or detained, then you all should fucking lose your jobs immediately, retroactively, and lose your fucking pensions. Because you're garbage. Or it didn't fucking happen. Just saying.
If we can play exhibit 51, please. I want to ask you some questions about the area you searched where you were directed Mr. O'Keefe was. Stop it there, please, Ms. Gilman. You did not see exactly where John O'Keefe was when he was found?
No, I did not.
Who directed you to this area?
I was directed twice, first by Sergeant Good and then by Sergeant Lang, Detective Sergeant Lang.
You shared with us yesterday you were looking in that area where you thought John O'Keefe was found.
Correct.
You asked questions about a berm. Is that the separation between the street and the yard?
Yes, it is.
Did you clear off a piece of that berm?
We did.
And the reason was?
We wanted to see what was there. We didn't know what was there.
Did you do a search from the flagpole all the way to the street?
No.
Did you do a search of that flagpole across the front yard?
No.
Did you do a search from that flagpole all across the berm, all the way down the line?
No, it was approximately 15 to 18 inches.
And why such a limited search?
Because we had no other reason than it was a medical call at this time.
Did you see snow in other parts of the yard?
Yes, the entire yard was covered.
The entire yard was covered, lovies. And that they had no other reason. Come on.
Because I want, in case it ever became an issue, I wasn't familiar with it being used before. I will understand how effective it was.
Dash cams?
They do, yes.
Do you know if any of the police cars had dash cams that day?
3 of them did, yes.
You mentioned that at some point you learned that Mr. O'Keefe had passed.
I'm not sure when we found that out, but yes.
Is there a statute or a rule when there is a death, whether a local county keeps the case or it needs to be transferred?
It's transferred, yes.
Is there a rule or is that a policy of the Canton Police Department?
It's a rule.
You were asked about Alexis in the Sally Port.
Correct.
Do you know exactly what time that Alexis was brought to the Sally Port?
I don't have any personal knowledge of that.
You asked about a broken taillight. Had you reviewed any of the dash cams from the Canton Police Department that day?
Not that day, no.
You were asked about cross-contamination with the cups. When you brought the cups to the criminalist, where did you give them to him or her?
I carried them down to, we walked together, I carried them down to the Sally Port.
Did you see anybody using a white rag or a paper towel to dip it in any of the cups?
No.
Did you see anybody shaking the cups or splashing?
No, they were handled very carefully.
Did you see anything that would cause you concern that there was some type of purposeful or inadvertent contamination or transfer?
Absolutely not.
And you've been trained.
Yes.
Did you see anything during that time that caused you any concern about potential corruption of evidence?
No, I had complete faith in the criminalist.
Oh, well, I'm glad you had complete faith in the criminalist because I don't have complete faith in you, sir. Okay? We saw the Stop and Shop bag. We saw your dramatic gay presentation of the cup yesterday. And you told me, sir, yesterday, that everything is automatically generated, a code in the computer for chain of custody when you put a sticker on it or some shit, right? It's like auto-generated, and we know I suck with technology, so I can't tell you that. But where was the code? Because all I saw, boo, was stop and shop. That's what I saw. Oh.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
There's a box for identification that has a glass in it. I'd like to take that into evidence. I'll do it later.
Is there any objections, Mr. Jackson? Any objection to?
Okay.
Oh, there's objection. I object to it all.
No objection, thank you.
All right, so we can put it in at any time then?
Oh.
When Mr. McDermott comes back.
Thank you. The glass that you showed the jury yesterday, when you showed it to us yesterday, did it look any differently than when you recovered it from the ground where you were looking that morning?
No.
Did you have any information that that glass came from inside Fairview Road?
No.
Do you know where that glass came from?
I have no personal knowledge where that glass came from.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Oh, and that is the face. That is the face of one smug asshole. That is the face of someone who just goes, yeah, couldn't tell ya. Well, not my job. Right? But didn't look in the house. Had no probable cause. And you didn't even ask. And all of you think this is normal? I mean, I don't understand how Commonwealth supporters can get past this shit. Because this is an embarrassment, not only to the state, but to our country. And it's horrifying for the O'Keefe family, in my opinion. God bless that they have to sit through this. And you continue to shovel this shit down their throats. Like, oh, nothing to see here. We got ya. We got you back. No, you don't. You don't give a fuck about anyone but yourselves.
Very briefly,
In my
you
opinion.
indicated that you were spitballing.
Oh, you're
To use your word, correct?
spitballing.
Correct.
Trying to figure out what happened.
Correct.
That's the job of an investigator, correct?
That is correct.
You
Yes.
don't just
Oh.
take witnesses' words for things, do you?
That is correct.
You have to corroborate things.
Yes.
You have to look deeper,
Yes.
ask more questions,
Absolutely.
actually investigate.
That's why we're here
Yeah.
today.
You don't rule out anything or anyone
We
right
do.
off the bat, correct?
Correct.
No one is ruled out. Nothing is ruled out.
That's
Correct?
correct.
You
Yes.
follow where the evidence leads you. Period.
Woo!
Amen.
Absolutely.
You didn't
Amen.
you didn't seek to separate the occupants at 34 Fairview, correct?
No.
You didn't interview Brian Albert formally, did you?
I did not know.
You were asked by Mr. Brennan, did he ever end the conversation precipitously? Did he end it earlier? Anything like that? He didn't end any interview because he wasn't interviewed, correct?
That is correct.
You didn't interview Brian Higgins.
That's
No.
correct.
You wouldn't interview Brian Higgins because he's your personal friend, correct?
Correct.
But you didn't have
Oh.
anybody else interview him either, did you?
Again, we're talking, I think we've gone over this and maybe you didn't understand. I didn't know Brian Higgins was at the house at that time.
Because you didn't ask anybody else who was at the house at that time.
I
This
wasn't
is
talking to
big.
anybody at that house, correct?
Might have been a good idea, wouldn't it?
Not at that time. We were there for one specific reason. We wanted to get to the hospital. So no.
Might have been a
I
good idea
disagree.
to sit Mr. Albert down and say, there, you're shaking your head again. I'm not done with my question. Might have been a good idea, Mr. Gallagher, since you happen to be there, no sweat off your brow, to sit Mr. Albert down and say, by the way, I got a pen and a paper. Who was here last night, just before John O'Keefe was found dead on your lawn? Who was here? Might have been a good idea, correct?
So that was already done by Detective Sergeant Lank, and it was documented in his report of everybody of what Mr. Jackson is asking.
Then how did you two not know that Brian Higgins was there?
Get him.
I don't know
Get
what,
him.
where.
At
I mean,
34
I'm confused. At what time?
Right.
At what time?
Exactly.
At what time?
When John O'Keefe arrived
Okay.
at 34 Fairview after midnight on January 29th, 2022.
And it's like, is he confused right now because Brian Higgins was also back at 34 Fairview at 7:30 in the morning? So he gets home at like a little after 2. He has non-consensual butt phone calls with Brian Albert at 2:22. And then he is awoken to the sounds, the harmonic jams, if you will, of Kenny Berkowitz blowing up his phone and Brian Albert blowing up his phone. And he hauls his ass back, still drunk, in my opinion, off Jameson and ginger that was creeping out his pores. And he goes back to 34 Fairview. All for a guy you kind of knew, who you were acquaintances with, who, yeah, you guys knew each other, but didn't know each other that well. And you were talking to his girlfriend. So did you really have a friendship with John O'Keefe? Or are you just full of shit up to your eyeballs? I'm going to go with the latter. Big neck Daddy Higgins.
So when I discovered Brian Higgins was there, wasn't until I read the report.
We were standing in the house, Sergeant Lang, who you just told these jurors knew that Brian Higgins and everybody else was there.
He had obtained the names. He hadn't written the report yet.
And hadn't told his boss,
So you didn't
I don't recall.
talk?
even though you two went together to interview yet another witness.
That's correct. There was a very fast-moving scene and pace. That is correct.
While you were spitballing, you also didn't secure the camera footage that we've talked about, the Arlo footage.
Yes, that's correct.
You also didn't formally search the house, correct?
No.
Absolutely
We
correct.
just talked about that. You didn't seek consent by Brian, pardon me, by Brian Albert to search the house, correct?
That's correct.
You also didn't seek a search warrant. You talked about that, correct?
Correct.
You don't get punished or in trouble if you seek a search warrant and a judge who has to sign the search warrant.
Yeah.
Normal citizens get.
We're going to move forward past that, babes. He just absolutely, AJ crushes him. Now, let's get weathered. Are you ready? Is it about to start raining men up in this bitch? Yeah, it is. Hit it. Just kidding. I don't have a clip. I should have got one. I'm slacking. I apologize.
And other requests for weather data?
And is that a company that you started yourself in conjunction with other people?
Oh, wait. I got to get him. I got to get him coming on the stand. It's so funny, guys. You're going to he's so cute. I'm obsessed. Okay. I can't help myself. You know how I am.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, Mr. Lally, whenever you're ready.
He says, who am I?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Hello.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury, stating your last name, spelling your last name for the court?
Good morning. My name is Robert Gilman, Gilman.
And what is your occupation, Mr. Gilman?
Meteorologist,
And where did you go to school?
Northeastern University and the Pennsylvania State University, Penn State.
And what degrees did you receive from those institutions?
I received a Bachelor of Science in Earth Science and in Meteorology.
Now, following your education,
And it was in the year of our Lord, 1492, when Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Okay. Now, he has a website called like fireandice.com. It's so cute. I can't stand it.
again, is that between Norwood Airport and 34 Fairview Road.
1 mile.
Now, these measurements that you used in your analysis, are you familiar with how those measurements are taken or how they're done at each of those 3 locations?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury sort of how those measurements are done or how those calculations or the data is collected?
Also, Judge Beverly Cannoni has a soft spot for him as well. Okay. I that actually makes her a little bit more likable. Polly Pocket, I liked that about you, that you were like, what are you looking at, sir? When he had to refer to his report and let him do all the arithmetic. I can't. He's not doing Common Core. He invented arithmetic.
Sure.
I love him.
Boston, again, is a first order station. It's equipped with automated equipment. It's called ASOS, Automated Surface Observing System. And it takes measurements of temperature, visibility, wind, humidity at very frequent intervals throughout the 24-hour day. It also collects precipitation, which isn't easy. If you think of Logan Airport being out in the harbor and trying to collect every raindrop in that environment, but they have a very sophisticated rain gauge system that actually does a fairly good job of collecting precipitation. Moving on to Norwood Airport, very similar. It's not as high a caliber a station as Boston is in terms of the frequency of observations or the complete set of data. Blue Hill Observatory is a special case indeed. It had been manned for most of the day for many years. The former observer is still alive and well in Hingham, Bob Skilling. For the last
Free Bob Skilling. Okay. And Billy Tibbetts. Let's go.
several years, 10, 15 years or so, it was an ASOS system that I just mentioned. But in recent years, that was cut back. So there are observers that are there and they take observations when they're there, and they take automated observations otherwise and take a record of that. But it's not on the, for instance, the FAA network, Federal Aviation Administration. Weather data, of course, is extremely critical to aviation, and they have a network of weather data. The Blue Hill Observatory currently is not on that network.
I'm sorry, guys. We can't, we love him, but we just got to get to cross. Ready? Bob Alessi.
Of 34 Fairview Road in Canton, New York.
Yes.
And have you ever been to 34 Fairview, Canton, New York?
Not New York. This is Massachusetts.
I'm sorry, Massachusetts,
okay.
sir.
Yes. I've been in many parts of Canton. I don't believe I've ever been to 34 Fairview.
Are you generally familiar with that area?
Yes.
And you mentioned the Norwood Airport on your direct testimony, correct?
Yes.
And is the general area of Fairview, is that in close proximity to the Norwood Airport?
I mentioned it's a mile away.
Right, so it's fairly close, right?
A mile.
Right, so you would expect that the readings you talked about on your direct examination would have a direct bearing and relevance to the 34 Fairview Road in Canton, is that correct?
Yes, relevance, yes.
Yes, so
Can I tell you that someone on Twitter said to me that he looks like the grandpa in the Munsters? And now I can't unsee it. Whoever made that comment, I love you.
what I would like to do is to draw your attention to the exhibit that was just marked. If Your Honor, we have that. Yeah, approach, please.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Gilman, this is exhibit 64. If I could hand that to you, please.
Thank you.
And you can keep that in front of you. If we could publish. Excuse me, Your Honor, may I publish?
Yes.
Thank you. If you can enlarge just, not the whole thing, just the chart up above, and make that as large as you could for the jury, please.
Oh my gosh, Cynthia, listen to me. I'm so sorry. I am obsessed with him. I am not giving him shit. This is not Nurse Kim being rude. He strikes a nerve in me. Almost, I can't give it to him all the way, but Michael Trotta, Mr. Trotta from Canton Department of Public Works, I was obsessed. He was my man. My man's. I almost cried watching him. I literally thought to myself, he is the man from Up. We were going to go away. We were going to float away together with a handful of balloons. I'm obsessed with elderly men. I don't know if it's like a nursing thing. And probably because when I was a baby nurse, I worked in a short-term subacute rehab floor. But I love them. I love them. So I found him very cute too. I'm not friggin' with him.
That is very good. Thank you. You see where we are. And Mr. Goodman, you can either look on the screen or look on the document, whichever is best for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's start with the top, which is estimated hourly snowfall ending at. This is for January 29th, 2022, correct?
Yes.
And what does not appear on this chart, but I want to make sure I can get this as accurate as possible, would it be appropriate to, before
We're just going to speed it up.
1 a.m.
Because we
to add a
love
0.2 for
educated
what you
men.
mentioned on direct for midnight? You mentioned there was a little bit starting and there was a 0.2. Is that correct? Did I hear that correct?
If you want to get the total for the snowfall event, yes.
Okay, so we'll just have, if you will, an imaginary 0.2 up at the top. And what I'm going to do, sir, is I'm going to go through the hourly snowfall because there are times that you have on your chart that are relevant
Oh, they
in
get into
this
a fight over the specific word. Hold on. Let's get him right here, though.
But something like 1.7 equal or less than total.
How about the accumulation between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m.? How much accumulation for that time period?
Oh.
Between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. So we have 0.3 of an inch up to 2 and another 0.4 of an inch, to a total of 0.7.
So between 1 and 3 a.m., there's only an accumulation of 0.7, correct?
Correct.
Inches.
0.7.
You had spoken a lot on your direct testimony about the magnitude of the storm, a variety of other measurements. But what I wanted to draw really a line at 6 a.m., which you said was an accumulation of 3.9. What I want to do is to now move on.
Oh. I didn't know I could do that.
To from 7 a.m. on January 29th until noontime. And you can check my math, sir, but
Let's see if that makes it better. You can check my math.
get 12.5 inches total as of noon on January 29th.
I can do the arithmetic if it sounds about right.
Oh, come on. Hold on, lovies. I'm sorry. Bear with me.
8.6 inches fell up until noon, starting at 6 in that time period, which is about the amount we forecast. And did you ask about the total going back to the night before?
Yeah. The total starting at midnight.
Starting at midnight.
Right, going until noon. So it's a 12-hour period of the same day, January 29th.
My quick calculation is 12.3 inches.
Right, and then you'd add the 0.2 from midnight.
Previous to midnight.
Right, so 12.3 is what shows with all those numbers, but then you have to add the 0.2 from midnight, which would get you to 12.5, correct?
Exactly. Yep.
Good. So just to summarize.
Just to summarize, they do it all so well. Now we go into the visibility.
But if something is at 1.25 miles, there's visibility, correct?
Of 1.25 miles, yes.
There is.
And again, if I could explain for the jury, a lot of this is developed for aviation.
Right.
And if you're a pilot or you think about what a pilot needs to go through, that's where these terms come. Come from.
I understand, sir, but visibility on their forecast, correct?
Correct.
My question is just,
I only know what you asked me.
All right. I'll try it a different way. Visibility is a concept that is used by weathercasters to assist people who are going to be walking or driving. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
Thank you. So now let's go on to the concept of temperature. You mentioned on your direct examination. You recall that, sir?
I was asked about it, yes.
Yes. Does wind chill have a relationship to temperature? And if so, what is it?
It does have a relationship to temperature. It's a complex function that was developed by the U.S. Air Force in the 50s to help produce cold weather gear. And it was determined that wind had a major impact on our military in terms of what type of gear they needed, in addition to how low the temperature was. So it's a measurement of temperature to begin, and then there's a complex function applied based on the wind speed to come up with how that air temperature, how that air is going to impact the human body.
So is it fair to say that if you have a temperature, and what I wanted to do is to go to the temperatures that you gave on your direct examination, is it accurate to state that, for example, on January 29th, I believe I heard you say there was a high of 29 and a low of 15. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, that was my report based on all those 3 locations, yes.
And you had also testified about wind speed and wind gusts as well. And can you state, if you have it in your notes?
I do. Yes, it was in the report. Yep.
Yep. And what was the wind speed? Average and then high gusts.
Sure. 40 miles an hour with a 47 miles an hour.
Does your temperatures of 29 and 15?
It makes that air feel much colder. So that air, that 20-degree air, did you say 20 and
29, sir, and 15 were the numbers you had given?
that range for that day? Sure.
Yeah.
So it makes that air temperature feel colder, and it allows that air to take heat out of your body more efficiently and more rapidly. So it feels much colder. And we can calculate roughly how it would feel if there was no.
I loved that. And guys, can you see me? Because I just left. I just left the studio. I don't know what's happening right now.
During the course of the storm, correct?
During like that hour or two previous. Yeah, there was really, in fact, I have this
Am I here?
chart I showed, the graph, the map. It just showed a trace of 0. There was less than an inch on the ground. And we measure snow on the ground in whole numbers. So it would either be 1 inch or 0.
And so that would be during what you've characterized as correct?
Yes.
And so it's during that track of cat stage that there's the least amount of snow between the frozen ground and anything that may come down on top of it, correct?
Yes.
Now, quickly as it applies to visibility. When you were asked about...
Great. They went into visibility. Now, Nick Garino, I don't care. We all know about it. We've already discussed all this, and we'll just listen to the end of the voicemails.
At 1 a.m. 26 seconds, the defendant calls John. It's not answered. At 1 a.m. 49 seconds, the defendant calls John. Voicemail on the 4 is left. It's 1 second called, no sound.
Ms. Gilman?
That was it. The defendant texts John O'Keefe, your kids are cucking alone at 1:02 a.m. on the 29th.
Mary, I
The
got
defendant texts John
lost.
O'Keefe, I'm back in Mansfield. The kids are home alone. 1:04:14 a.m. on the 29th. At 1:10:17 a.m., the defendant calls John. Voicemail number 5 is left with voice.
Ms. Gilman?
Yeah, 1 in the morning, I'm gonna fucking niece and nephew. You fucking pervert! You're a fucking pervert!
At 1:10:44 a.m., the defendant calls John. It's not answered. At 1:12:18 a.m., the defendant calls John. It's not answered. 1:12:46 a.m., the defendant calls John. It's not answered. 1:13:13 a.m., the defendant calls John. Not answered. Sorry. At 1:14:11 a.m., the defendant calls John. It's not answered. 1:14:44 a.m., the defendant calls John. Not answered. 1:16:10 a.m., the defendant calls John. Not answered. 1:16:38 a.m., the defendant calls John. Not answered. At 1:17:37 a.m., the defendant calls John. When voicemail 6 is left with voice.
Ms. Gilman?
John, I'm going home. I cannot be sick in me. I need to go home. You are fucking using me right now. You're fucking another girl. She's sleeping next to me. You're a fucking loser. Fuck yourself.
At 1:18:38 a.m., the defendant calls John.
Okay. Loveys, listen to me. Those voicemails, we've heard them. We know them all. Trooper Garino hates it. He's like, I can't. Okay. He's like, I'm so done. However, if anyone tells you that Karen Reed believes that Officer John O'Keefe is not alive and living and potentially put his, was playing hide the salam with Amy or Bella's mom or someone when she called him a pervert, not once, but twice. I only remembered one time Karen saying, "You're a fucking pervert, John. You're using me." Those are all signs of a pissed off girlfriend who thinks you fell and slipped into an orifice of another woman, in my opinion. That's not, I just, slammed into you with my car.
Not answered. At 4:38:14 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 4:38:49 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 4:39:39 a.m.
Oh.
And
we know she took a cat nap.
Not answered. 4:40:05 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 4:20, excuse me.
Oh. Dismiss. All right, now try that.
4:42:05 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 4:42:54 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered. 4:45:10 a.m., the defendant calls John,
Same,
not answered.
Melissa.
5:04:27 a.m., the defendant calls John, not answered.
And the last call is at 5:30. And we know that. Why? Oh, hi, OnlyFan. Oh, bring us some joy. Oh, no. Where is it? OnlyFan. Do, do, do. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Okay, it's right there. Come on, OnlyFan. Oh, and then she's gone. But I have left those messages as well. And I have been panicked because that's what happens. You don't mean to. And I could have left one as recent as, like, I don't know, 2 summers ago to Mr. Nurse Kim. Okay, you got it. You got it, sir. Cut the shit. All right, now rhythmic beats. Hello, what are we doing? Tiny break. This feels like, well, I don't know. I'm getting like Chinese New Year vibe. Sorry. Okay, continue. All right, now what happened? Oh, fuck you, Charlie Ray.
All right, Mr. Brennan, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, could you please
No,
introduce
fuck
yourself?
Charlie Ray. I don't care about him. Let's go to O'Hara. He has nothing. He says nothing. He is no one except we want to talk about a pervert. Go look at our girl, Colleen O'Neill, if you want to hear about Charlie Ray.
I want you to take us back to January 29, 2022.
We'll go to Cross because that's all that matters. He remembers everything. He's an elephant. He is us. Now let's hear. Oh.
Say that, sir.
Did Lieutenant Tully inform you that Massachusetts State Police had actually contacted the Dighton Police Department for their assistance in potentially seizing that SUV?
He did not tell me that, sir.
Did he indicate to you, you indicated that your conversation was at 12:32. Did he indicate that he had just gotten off the phone with Dighton PD at 12:31, just a minute prior?
Our phone call was at 2:32, sir.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if
Did I say 12:32?
that's a different time you're looking to.
2:32, and he had just gotten off the phone with Dighton PD at 2:31. Did he indicate anything like that?
No, we did not, sir.
Okay. So we do know that at that 2:30-ish hour, you were not authorized to respond to the unit. To the location at that point. None of your units were en route at that point.
No, neither one of us had requested approval through our chain of command at that time, sir.
And you've already told us that you didn't head out until just after 4, sometime after 4 p.m.?
Yes, my GPS data has me leaving my driveway at 4:13 p.m.
Got it. Once you were at 34 Fairview, you arrived first, correct?
No, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry, I mistook that. Tell me who did arrive first.
Trooper Busalil arrived at 4:54, and I pulled in just after him at 4:56, sir.
My mistake. When you first arrived, you were awaiting others of your team to arrive as well in their personal vehicles or their marked vehicles, correct?
They were all still en route at that time, yes, sir.
When you got there, you did not know at that point where you were going to be directed to search, correct?
I did not know, sir.
All you knew was a residence and an address, correct?
Correct.
As your team members arrived, were they arriving in personal vehicles, cruisers, or some combination thereof?
Now, I will say this, okay? I want you guys to remember when Brian Tully arrives on the scene. And I also want you to remember, okay? Turn back the hands of time, babes, and remember when they're going to tell you that the first piece of taillight is found at 30, found. Oh, she's a Southern belle. Found. Oh, call me. I feel like I was just in an episode of Designing Women. Oh, Delta Burke. Okay. So anywho, I thought, or I had a memory, and I don't remember if this is like a faux pas of mine, but I recalled that the first piece of taillight was found at 6 o'clock, and that the jury in the first trial requested the CERT team report. Okay. They were like, hey, babe, I have a question. Where is the CERT team report? And Judge Cannoni had to say, you got all the evidence and there was no CERT team report. So what the fuck is O'Hara looking at? I don't know. What is he referring to? And why wasn't this in evidence in the first trial? And also, where did 545 come from? But still remembering that Karen Reed's SUV, Lexus SUV, was driven into the Sally Port for either the first or second time. Christ only knows. Tiny Jesus only knows. Okay. And that was at 5:36. And we know that within 4 minutes, you can make it over from Canton Police Department to 34 Fairview. It's 1.4 miles away. Just saying.
They were all arriving in state-issued cruisers.
Okay, so all 7 of you arrived. There were 7 total, correct?
Correct. We initially started 8. One member was not able to get off the end of their street due to plowing, so we were one member.
Oh, one of our members. Let's get there again.
Right. There were 7 total, correct?
Correct. We initially started 8. One member was not able to get off the end of their street due to plowing, so we were one member short from the original dispatch.
Understood. Lieutenant, when you arrived, given the fact that you did not know where you'd be searching, you got actually indicated previously that the flagpole, the fire hydrant, et cetera, that part of the lawn, that part of the yard was behind you as the cruisers pulled up and you parked your cruisers waiting for everybody to get there, correct?
When I arrived, I parked almost at the end of the driveway of that residence, sir.
Okay, was your
Oh, come on, babe. We just got this much. He parks at the end of the driveway. He is facing the opposite direction. And all of where the CERT team stands arm in arm in a grid is at near the flagpole that they are directed by Brian Tully. Oh.
away from the area of the driveway, correct?
Yes, sir.
And so as you began to focus on the other side of the house, the other side of the driveway, you had to actually reposition a couple of the cruisers. You didn't have to, but you chose to reposition a couple of the cruisers to turn their lights back around, correct?
Oh, that is correct.
At some point, you've indicated that there were other individuals who you noticed were at the scene. Is that right?
Anytime.
Yes, there were non-cert members on scene, sir.
Okay. And those non-cert members included, or they numbered at least 5 individuals, not including Lieutenant Tully. Is that right?
I believe that includes Lieutenant Tully, sir. I believe,
The
it was 5 total.
Okay, so 5 does include Lieutenant Tully. There were 4 others that were non-cert members, correct?
Correct, sir.
And those were members, I think you've earlier testified that those were members of either Massachusetts State Police or Canton Police or both. Is that right?
I believe it was both, yes, sir.
And you did not recognize those individuals?
I recognize one of the state police members. I believe a second one was also a state police member that I'm not familiar with.
Okay.
And then 2 other members that I believe were Canton Police, but again, not familiar with them.
And these individuals were obviously, it's dark.
Why was Canton Police there? Why would Canton Police be there when we just had Lieutenant Gallagher tell us that Canton Police had recused themselves? Oh. Now, this is when clearly Mass State Police had already taken over. Why are 2 Canton police officers there and they're dressed in normal clothes and they're just strewed about? Like, jump off my Kool-Aid. I'm busy. I have things to do. I'm gridding right now, bitch. Right?
You're not paying attention to them. You're not paying attention to what they're doing. They probably have hats and hoods and gloves on, I'm guessing.
Well, they didn't arrive on scene right away, so we were already well into our search before they even arrived on scene. The only one who was on scene originally was Lieutenant Tully.
If you weren't paying close attention to those 4 officers, there's a
I want everyone to clutch your pearls and clench your buttholes when you think about Brian Tully. Okay? Because something in the milk ain't clean. Heard that from a Southerner too. We're designing women all over town tonight. But ain't that some shit? Like, Tully reminds me, okay, and this is not appropriate, but when I look at him, I get a jump scare because he reminds me of the main character in the early 90s film called Hellraiser. Put some screws in his head, he is him. Oh.
additional 4 officers. How do you know exactly what time they arrived on scene?
They weren't in the area we were searching, so they came on scene after we were already on our line searching, sir.
So they may have been in the area, but you didn't see them until your line search had already begun, and you made note of them, correct?
Correct. I don't know when the exact time they arrived on scene, sir, but they weren't on scene when we started our search.
Or they weren't in your vision when they started their search?
No, they weren't on scene, sir.
Okay. But you don't know, as you sit here, you can't say what time they showed up.
I do not know, sir.
And did they come at your direction?
They did not.
Did they come at the direction of any of your staff members, any of your colleagues?
No, we did not request them, sir.
Okay. So they were there for some reason other than why you were there.
That's correct, sir.
Yeah, like they just showed up. You don't even go here.
I may have just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
These individuals, you noted they were either from, I think you said 2 from Massachusetts State Police and 2 from Canton Police, correct?
Yeah, including Lieutenant Tully, probably three MSP and 2 Canton Police, sir.
Okay. Excluding Lieutenant Tully, who was working very closely with you.
Thank you,
The
Lovey.
other 4 individuals, they were in full uniform or they were plain clothes?
Plain clothes, sir.
And your focus, once you began your search, once you stood up the team, turned your cars around, and realized exactly the grid where you were going to search, that's when what your focus was on, correct?
Yeah, I was focused on our search area, correct, sir.
And when you're searching a line, for instance, if it's a line that extends to your right or to your left, the search that you're conducting is literally right directly in front of you, correct?
Well, you're always looking left to right because you're staying online with your teammates, so you always have a full
Thank you,
view of
Lovey.
the scene you're searching, sir.
Understood. I'm not saying that you look down and never look up again, but I'm saying that your focus, the main focus of your search is directly in front of you. That's why you do a line search. So you can take small steps, search in front of you, move forward, search in front of you as a line, as almost an entity, a single entity moving forward, correct?
That is best practice, yes, sir.
That's how you make sure you don't miss an overturned leaf that you need to overturn, that there might be a knife under or a gun under or something like that, or a bullet casing, something like that, correct?
Correct, sir.
Or a taillight, right?
Correct, sir.
All right, so as your focus is, your world sort of collapses a little bit. Your focus is in front of you. You're obviously working with your team members left and right. You're moving forward.
Look at that Nicky
very
haircut.
methodically, very technically as you move forward, and the whole line moves forward on that. Correct?
Correct, sir.
So you're not necessarily paying attention to what's happening behind you, off in the distance, in the dark, to your left far, to your right far. That's not what your focus is on, at least at that moment, correct?
No, sir. Our focus is forward as we're moving forward into our search area.
Thank you. In addition to the 5 individuals, Lieutenant Tully and
Look at Kat too. Oh, I
Including,
did her dirty. Okay. Look at Kat. She is so strong. And I say that because we know this, right? But she is living with like so much on her shoulders. And yesterday when I saw her, babes, I was just like, hey, I was like, how you doing? How you holding up, girl? And she was like, because I don't think that Karen has slept in 3 years. Swear to God, on everything good and holy. She is literally going at all times in order to try to save her life and in order to seek justice for Officer John O'Keefe's life. Like, Karen is a rare individual, because I'll tell you what, like the comments and like the text messages that were sent by whom in the text message chain between Brian Albert, Nicole Albert, Matt McCabe, and Jen McCabe. They said if she takes the plea deal, then it will be okay. If she doesn't, it'll be an episode. And they knew exactly what the fuck was coming down the pike before Karen Reed was even arrested on February 1st, 2022. She wasn't arraigned in Stoughton District Court until February 2nd. So I want to know who tipped you off and told you that Karen was getting arrested that night around 7 o'clock? Because you sent fucking text messages at 4:55. You scumbuckets. Something is not right here. I don't know what actually happened, right? I'll never say I do. I don't know what happened on January 29th. I'm not Mass State Police. But I know in my heart and my soul that Officer John O'Keefe was not struck by Karen Reed's Lexus. And Karen Reed's Lexus never struck Officer John O'Keefe. And why there are so many things that we cannot explain. This isn't like, babes, that we have shit that's like, oh, okay, you can explain that away. It's, nothing is perfect. We know that in life, right? No investigation is going to be perfect. But this is so egregious that it's hard to stomach. And I feel so terrible for Karen, for Karen's family, and for the O'Keefe family. No matter what they have to think or what they have to get through, they lost John. And Officer John O'Keefe deserved better, in my opinion.
And the other 4. There was also another person that made contact with you from 34th here. Correct?
Yes, when we first arrived on scene, someone had exited the residence onto the front porch area, possibly, of that mudroom.
Oh, that was Brian Albert. He wore a hoodie. Oh, did myself dirty.
How you described where everything was with relative May 5th, is that a fact, grand jury? Relative to each other, do you remember how you testified exactly?
I believe I said within a few inches or a foot.
Oh, this
away.
is important.
Yes,
hold on, let me back up. Hold on, babe. Sorry, we're almost done.
Not a child, sir. It was definitely an adult male, sir.
Adult male wearing a hooded sweatshirt.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You testified that you recovered. Having a hard time speaking. It's been a long day. I apologize. Let's try that again. You testified that you recovered a piece of plastic first before you recovered the shoe, or do I have that backwards?
No, there was one piece of taillight located before the shoe, sir.
Understood. You've also indicated that of the, I think you said 6 or 7 total pieces of plastic that were found, that all of those pieces of plastic and the shoe were found basically right next to each other, correct?
I don't know the exact distances, but they weren't too far apart, some several inches to others, maybe a foot or two. I don't know the exact distances, sir.
Without assigning an exact measurement down to the millimeter, Lieutenant, you've earlier indicated that all of the pieces and the shoe relative to each other, it's just relative to each other, were found within a foot or so of each other, correct?
Eyeball, again, that's the distance that I just said, sir, from inches to maybe a couple of feet. I know they all are geomarked with exact coordinates that, could be measured out at a later time, which again would have been at the purview of the detectives, but we did not measure them. Again, all eyeball that night.
Understood. When I say, and it may have been a bad question on my part, Lieutenant, and if it was, I apologize. When I say a foot, within a foot of each other, I don't mean a foot apart. All of them, you earlier testified, would be inside of a foot total, correct? Or maybe 2 feet now?
I don't think they'd be quite that close, sir. I think they were maybe in between each item, sir.
Oh, but that's
Or
what
close
you
to it.
said.
I have just a moment, Your Honor.
And AJ's going to bring you the receipt.
Okay. I know this isn't necessarily a memorization contest about your prior testimony, but do you remember testifying about this specific issue? Here I go again. I can't speak. This specific issue about a year ago, back in 2022 at a grand jury?
Yes, I did, sir.
Okay. Do you remember exactly how you described where everything was with relative, May 5th, is that a fact, at the grand jury, relative to each other? Do you remember how you testified exactly?
I believe I said within a few inches or a foot away. Yes, sir.
So how was everything that
You
close?
rattled off times and dates like I've never seen before. So it's exactly what you said. So within a few inches of each other, maybe a foot is what you said, correct?
That's what I said. Yes, sir.
Okay. So if it's maybe within a foot, this is an 11 and a half by 8.5 piece of paper, maybe an area a little larger than this, correct?
Correct.
So he definitely reviewed his testimony.
As you found items of evidence, did you alert Lieutenant Tully to that specific piece of evidence?
Yeah, so I was not one of the members who found any of the evidence, but as my team members located something, we would halt the line. Lieutenant Tully was a short distance behind our line. We would get his attention. We would cease our operations until he informed us that he felt it was properly documented.
And ultimately, Lieutenant Tully was the person responsible for documenting that item. Is that right?
That is, sir. We fall under the incident command structure. He technically took the lead as the incident commander that night, sir.
And he did that through
Sure he did.
photography?
Yes, sir.
So you saw him taking pictures of the items
He
in
took
their
all the
place once they
pictures.
were found, correct?
Yeah, I believe he was the one taking photographs, sir.
And by definition, Lieutenant, as a search like this is being conducted, unfortunately, moving snow means possibly moving the items themselves, correct?
Potentially, yes, sir.
They might end up in a
All of
snow
them.
turned upside down. That's not what a piece of evidence was to begin with, correct?
Correct. It's been moved at that point.
But in this case, nearly all of the pieces that you did find, including the shoe, were nearly next to each other, meaning within inches of one another, correct?
I don't know the exact distance again, sir. Ballpark eye distance, but again, that is why we provided the GPS coordinates of each location, because we did stamp those with a handheld GPS as we found items of evidence, and all those locations were turned over with our report to be measured at the desire of the detectives, sir.
Certainly, using that very impressive memory of yours, your memory back in May of 2022, May 5th of 2022, was that they were within inches of each other.
I believe that's what I stated, yes, sir.
Okay.
He's wishing he didn't.
Ultimately, you indicated that the search, after about 6 or 7 pieces were found, as well as the shoe, the search was suspended just after 6 o'clock, correct?
Approximately 6:15-ish, sir, we stopped. We'd gone, like I said, stated earlier, we'd gone approximately 8 to 10 feet further south on the row without recovering any other pieces of taillight. We knew we'd already located the sneakers, so we decided to suspend the search at that time until possibly a future date.
And you were never by Lieutenant Tully or anybody else, correct?
No, we were not, sir.
Okay, now that is shocking. That's shocking. Because if they went 8 or 10 feet further down after they found these initial 5 to 6 pieces, right? And they were all within inches of each other. Then they go 8 to 10 feet, can't find shit. And they were digging, babe. They were digging with real shovels. They didn't have leaf blowers. And allegedly, 8 to 10 feet further down would be exactly where all 40 to 41 additional pieces were found over the next 3 weeks in this case. By Trooper Proctor when he's just driving by Buchnick when he's just driving by, when Kenny B, when Berkey is off duty and he's out on a leave of absence and drives by 34 Fairview, and with his eagle eyesight, what does he spy with his little eye? But taillight, baby. And the biggest piece of taillight is found when? February 18th of 2022. Get the fuck out of town. We were born at night, but not last night, babes. And this is bullshit.
And did you become aware that over the next days and weeks and days and several weeks, there would be 40 more pieces of taillight claimed to be recovered at the scene? Did you become aware of that or not?
I was aware other pieces were located. I did not know that was the number, and I don't know exactly when I became aware of that. It was probably much later on, possibly at this location when I learned that information, sir.
And you don't know, as you sit here, you don't know whom it was that recovered those additional pieces, correct?
No, I've never seen the evidence log, sir.
And you don't know when those additional pieces were claimed to have been recovered?
I do not know.
Anything else? Let's see. What does Hanky have to say?
You know, he just accepted our offer, but we were never contacted to come back, sir.
Oh, yes. This is it. So they leave, right? They wrap it up. 6:15. He's the last one out. O'Hara's scooting out last. Okay? Between 4:58 when they arrive on the scene, 5:45 is the first piece of alleged taillight, which we know Karen had pulled into the her vehicle was pulled into the Sally Port for one of the times at 5:36 p.m. So plenty of time to get back to where? 34 Fairview. This team says, "Hey babes, the CERT people who are what? They're rescue folk. They're here to if our golden doodle falls in a pond. We know at this point Officer John O'Keefe has passed away. Why are they doing a specific grid looking for taillight? Who told you to look for taillight when we have no photos from Mass State Police of Karen Reed's taillight in Dighton? The tow truck driver didn't take any pictures, I guess. Right? When it gets back to the Sally Port on January 29th at 5:36 and is pulled in, and we see two individuals who are named Michael Proctor and Trooper Yuri Buchanan at the right rear end of Karen Reed's Lexus, when they said we didn't ever have a chance to be there independently. We never stood anywhere near that taillight. Oh. Well, bitch, your inverted video, right, makes me feel queasy. I get agita thinking of your inverted video. And no one took a photo. And Lieutenant O'Hara said to you, I'll come back. We could help you come back tomorrow. But Lieutenant Brian Tully said, no, babe, we're good. We're good. I'm very satisfied with what you found tonight. Oh.
When you offered to come back, was that based on your assessment that it was a difficult area to search?
Correct. Again, as we talked about probability of detection, we'll base that on 10 different categories, give them a baseline percentage chance of it. Would we have found what we were looking for? I told him there was a good chance we did not locate all the evidence, asked him if he wanted us to come back at a later date, sir.
And when you mentioned that you couldn't finish the search because of the grass, tell us a little bit about what made it difficult because of the grass.
Even using the push brooms, we couldn't properly move the snow off the grass as we were moving it. And with the dark, even the headlamps, I didn't feel like we were clearing it enough to continue searching it. I think our best efforts would be to focus on the street because I was more concerned about eventually the plow coming in, clearing curb to curb and moving any evidence that was on the street. My thought was if with the grass not being able to properly clear it, at least that would be contained to be searched at a later date as the snow melted.
And given those assessments, is that some of those reasons why you offered to come back?
Yes, sir.
I've shown you some photographs you've identified about some of the pieces that you found or the pieces that you found that night. I'd like to show those photographs to the jury.
Okay.
If we could show Exhibit 73, please. Is that one of the photographs?
Oh, I'm sorry, bitch. You're not scolding anyone. My lovies will stay up late with me and they will be up early for you. Okay. What we're not going to do is chat shame at my house. Okay. Or we're going to fist fight. If you want me to take my Adidas shoes and shove a shell toe right up your ass, I will, Deborah. So act appropriate. Thank you.
Photographs you identified earlier?
Yes, it is, sir.
Is there a chance, Ms. Gilman, that we could do a close-up of that? Can you describe what you're seeing?
It's a piece of clear taillight. It's got rigid edges, some indentations on it, distinctive markings.
Did all of the pieces you found have those type of markings on it?
Not sure if they had those exact same markings, sir. I'd have to compare the photos.
Was there different colors of pieces that you found that night?
Yes, we also found pieces of red taillight as well.
Could we see 73A, please? Without blowing it up, if you could go back. Is 73A a picture from further away of the same piece?
Love you.
Yes, that's what it appears to be, sir.
Was it easier to see these pieces that night in person than it is in photos, or was there any difference in the ability to identify these pieces?
Sustained.
When you
Just a reminder, babes, I could drop one piece of taillight like it's hot. Okay? I could drop it like it's hot, drop it like it's hot. I could be Snoop Dogg up in that bitch right out of my what? Large, oversized Mass State Police coat. All you got to do, boop, boop, so many pockets. Pockets for days. Interior, exterior, up the sleeve, down the sleeve. Pull a fucking magician. You can make it happen. I'm just saying. Do I know it was planted? No. But there was opportunity, and some may say there was motive.
You saw the piece from where you were standing, did it look any different than it does in this photo?
No, it doesn't, sir.
It looked just like that.
Can you see 75, please? In that picture from this perspective, can you see any pieces of taillight?
There's a piece of red taillight in the left-hand side of that photo, sir.
On a little bit of a mound?
Correct, sir.
Is that where that piece was found, on the mound?
No, that's the photo like we discussed earlier, sir, that came.
You're full of shit. You're full of shit. And this is where we will end tonight, my lovies. Is that tiny piece of taillight? There is no scoop. There's no scoop. There's no shovel mark. There's no anything. That piece of red apparent plastic was on the snow. Scott. Okay? It lived there. It found its home, allegedly. You know, some fucking asshole was like, I just turned it with my shovel. I think I turned it with my shovel. I'm going to shovel that. All right? Like, no, Fred. Yeah, okay. You found that just tiny Jesus. Okay? You found tiny Jesus's taillight? You're full of it. Okay? Close your ears, Jesus. I apologize. I'm going to say at least 3 Our Fathers after this, but fuck off. You're a liar. And your pants should proverbially catch on fire. Okay? That's what happens. Don't be a dick your whole life. Everyone knows it. And listen, O'Hara, not a bad guy. Okay? You can tell he's just like, fuck my life. I went out to do a search and rescue for fucking Taillight. on January 29th, 2022 in a blizzard because Brian Tully told me to. And all we know is that they found enough that Brian Tully of Mass State Police of the Norfolk DA's office, their troop, what is it, Troop E or whatever they are, they found enough for them to be highly satisfied. And then more taillight revealed itself over time. Over how much time, you ask? 3 weeks. 3. Count them, babe. 1, 2, 3. Get out of town. This is dirty. It is odd and off-putting. And as Jimmy always says, I should be off-putting too. Okay, I'm taking the word for it. Don't make me get back alley Ozempic shots, okay? It's rude. First of all, too expensive. Second of all, side effects, okay? Is being fat a crime? I don't know. But my back hurts. So I'll tell you that. I couldn't be lifting up all this snow. I'd be throwing my back out. I had a bowling incident in 2020 and I had to get back surgery. You know the drill. All right, babes, I'm off the rails. We need to go to bed. Okay. I want you to close your eyes. I thank you for coming. I thank you for joining me at my house. I will do an earlier stream tomorrow night. I also apologize deeply for coming on during Turtle Boy's stream, but I needed to see your face. I needed to talk some shit, tell you I love you. You don't have to send out a bolo. Where the fuck is Kim? I don't even know. Okay. I've seen many, many humans. I would like to retreat into a small Netflix cave, but tomorrow I'm going to be watching what? Testimony. Day 11. Come to my house at night. Go see your Aunt Deborah in the morning. Don't let her bully me. Okay. All right. I love you so much. Thank you so much for answering my FaceTime, Lovey. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Good night.